Oh, hey everybody, thanks for tuning in on this lovely Saturday morning. So how's everybody's day going? Well, for me, it's going pretty fantastic. Can't complain. Nice and sunny right where I'm at. Cold, and I'm loving it. Oh, but yeah, as you can probably see by the title of this stream, pretty much know what it's gonna be about. Oh, with the current state of American politics, it's a dumpster fire. It really is. We have those that are actually kissing the president's behind and willing to do whatever he says. And then we have those that actually, well, think for themselves. Then we have another group. The group that is known as the party line voters. And that would be those that align with their party and the values of the party strictly, without making any compromise for the American people. There are party line voters that are Democrat. There are party line voters that are Republican. And if we had more than just the main two on the biggest stage of them all, it would probably be the third parties that would probably vote for their party line. However, neither party actually does care for the American people. They actually care about their best interest and only for those that are actually donating. Actually, they're only caring more or less about the profits that they receive for being career politicians. Myself, in the state of politics, the progressive Democrats, they would say that I'm a Republican. The current Republican Party in today's times, they would call me a rhino, Republican in name only. Meaning the current Republican Party would actually see me as a Democrat, but the Democrats on the progressive end would actually see me as a Republican. After doing a whole bunch of soul searching, not really soul searching, but more or less taking a big observation at the current state of politics, yeah, I'm pretty much, in today's times, siding more with the Democrats than I am siding with the Republicans. The Republicans have actually brought more harm that they just do not see. I was one of those hardcore diehard Republicans, but in the past couple of years, I actually admitted, even on YouTube, that I actually was a moderate Republican. This was about, I want to say 2021, 2021, or 22, when I made that video on my YouTube channel. So it's been years. But throughout my teenage years, when I was in school, junior high and high school, I was actually a Republican. Briefly in that time, I was a Libertarian. But I'll only support Libertarians if they basically got a strong message going, because majority of what society sees as libertarian is anarchy. And there's a difference. The Republicans that I knew in the early 2010s, they were more little government involvement. Meaning that they weren't so hopped up on power up until Trump got to office. And, yeah. And now there's actually Republicans that are actually out there that are actually for the American people. Just like there are Democrats out there that are for the American people. I basically, like I've already said, I am a Democrat, a blue dog Democrat, but the progressive, in other words, would call me a dino, Democrat in name only. If I was a rhino, Republican in name only, I would also be considered a rat, Republican against Trump. Or I would be among the rats, the rhinos. But yeah, as we have actually seen in the current state of politics, actually just yesterday, let me adjust this webcam and get to this article here. This article that has actually shocked me is fairly recently. Marjorie Taylor Greene, a MAGA Republican, went from being a MAGA Republican to being a rhino. And this is actually where she has most of my respect now. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene will resign after fallout with Trump. And of course, you got the key points, but this is from CNBC. There's other news outlets that are covering this as well. Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia announced on Friday that she will resign her seat in the House of Representatives in early January after a dramatic falling out with President Donald Trump over the Jeffrey Epstein files and other issues. Greene cited Trump's recent attacks on her, which included calling her a traitor and a lunatic, in a video and statement posted on X that said her last day in Congress will be January 5th. Quote, "Loyalty should be a two-way street, and we should be able to vote our conscience and represent our district's interest because our job title is literally representative," unquote, wrote Greene, who was in the middle of a third term representing Georgia's 14th district. After her announcement, Trump told an ABC News reporter, "I think it's great news for the country. It's great." Greene, 51, had been a leading supporter of Trump and a prominent figure in the Republicans' Make America Great Again, or MAGA, movement, while sparking controversy for promoting conspiracy theories and using extreme rhetoric. But in recent weeks, Trump has blasted her for backing a bill to compel the Department of Justice to release investigative files about the notorious sex offender Epstein. Greene also has drawn Trump's ire for criticizing him for prioritizing meeting with foreign leaders at the expense of paying attention to the needs of Americans. Trump last week said that he was withdrawing his support and endorsement of MTG, who was first elected in 2020, the year he lost a re-election bid to President Biden. He said that he would fully support the right person if they challenged her in the Republican primary next year. In her statement, Greene wrote, "I have too much self-respect and dignity, love my family too much, and don't want my sweet district to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the president we all fought for, only to fight and win my election while Republicans will likely lose the midterms. And in turn, be expected to defend the president against impeachment after he hatefully dumped tens of millions of dollars against me and tried to destroy me," Marjorie said. "It's all absurd and completely unserious," she wrote. Unserious? Is that even a word? I refuse to be a battered wife, hoping it all goes away and gets better. Oh, battered wife. Oh, I get it now. I see it. She's using it to describe the relationship. Green wrote that she had fought harder than almost any other elected Republican to elect Donald Trump and Republicans to power, and that she had left her mother's side as her father had brain surgery to vote against Trump's second impeachment by the House in 2021. She said that her voting record has been solidly with my party and the president, with the exceptions of a few areas. I'm just not even going to dictate this or narrate this, because y'all can read. But I'm just going to keep this up here for some time. This part is not good. Not good at all. But the 14th district is very conservative and is likely to elect a Republican to replace Green whenever a special election for her seat is called. I am not liking that. And y'all shouldn't either. But then again, MAGA will defend MAGA, and MAGA will also say that those Republicans that are against Trump and against the whole MAGA ideology are Democrats. So, I would rather hang out with somebody and have a beer with someone that is a rhino than it would be to hang with a MAGA supporter. Because there's even MAGA supporters out there that would actually be advocating for a third term and then a fourth term for Trump. However, the president only gets 2 terms. This would be his second and his last term. J.D. Vance? I would not want him as a president. Who I would want as a president, though, Nikki Haley, Marjorie Taylor Greene, even some Democrats like Pete Buttigieg, Dean Phillips, like that. But not anything MAGA. Because there's a few rhinos that are in office, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, she is now a rhino instead of a MAGA, and that is great. But with the current state of politics, the neo-conservatives are taking over. And hold on a second while I get to the neo-conservative page. I'm a traditionalist conservative, and not a neocon. The neocons, they scare me. Because we are going to be going here, and it's going to be adjusting a bit. Okay, neoconservatism, or neocon, is a political movement which began in the United States during the 1960s among liberal hawks I'm putting that up there because I have no idea what a liberal hawk is. Among liberal hawks, who became disenchanted with the increasingly pacifist Democratic Party, along with the growing New Left. Oh boy. Gonna have to go see what those are about. Counterculture of the 60s. Neocons typically advocate for the unilateral promotion of democracy and interventionism in international relations, together with a militaristic and realist philosophy of peace through strength. Wait a minute. This here, whoops. This here is basically the conservative values that I hold. I'm not a neocon. I do believe that we should have diplomatic relations with other countries, even have domestic peace relations talks before going for a more military approach for domestic and foreign. Peace through strength, because peace should ultimately be our first objective, just like a de-escalation to try to get through our relations. Hold on a second here. Okay. Apparently, I was wrong. Apparently, oh boy. Okay, the neoconservative movement. Me and many others might have confused that for neo-Nazis. And for those that are for big government. However, I'm still a conservative when it comes to economics. Still conservative when it comes to social issues, but I'm fiscally conservative for economics. However, I am economically left as well. It was like, we shouldn't be constantly spending all our tax dollars for a certain thing. Even if we are, we need to be careful with spending. Now, there should be a moderation between spending and borrowing. And anything in between that. Otherwise, it's wasteful spending of our tax dollars, the point where basically we're going to be in more debt than ever, while at the same time we would have to raise taxes to actually subset those costs. And nobody likes taxes. But it's the way of life if we're going to have to afford things. When it comes to taxes, the wealthy and all of us, including the low income like me, we should all pay lower taxes across the board. However, the rich should only pay a big chunk of taxes only if they are basically moving operations overseas. Outsourcing. To the point where it hurts the American workers. Because the American workers like us, we matter. We should not have the workforce shipped overseas or moved operations to overseas to help subset costs. especially with the free trade deals. I'm all for free trade, just as long as it does not hurt the working class here. It was like, yeah, I don't mind we get free trade from like China, South Korea, Mexico, Canada, so to speak, just examples. When it comes to foreign aid spending, we should only use foreign aid if it's to truthfully help our allies. But our main focus should be America first. We have to solve the problems here that are home first in the United States before we can truthfully help an ally. If an ally is at war, and if they're requesting our assistance, we should most certainly aid them. Most certainly should aid them with no additional cost. However, in the whole reality of things, it's still going to cost the taxpayer money, because we have to move our operations for military, peaceful diplomatic relations, and war possibly, to overseas to help sustain our foreign allies. But the foreign aid we should not be doing unless it's absolutely necessary in helping to protect our allies. Example, the whole Ukraine-Russia thing. We should not get involved unless they're willing to work out a peace deal with Russia, and if Russia and Ukraine are willing to work out a peace deal. Like, just give a little chunk of land back to Russia, and then let Ukraine basically have elections and whatnot, advocate for democracy over there, and then once, after a while of no war, or any controversial things like that, then we should invite them to join NATO. Because that way, if one country attacks a NATO ally, they pretty much attack us all. But yes, when it comes to spending, we should only use government spending dollars if absolutely necessary, especially here domestically. Should we use tax dollars to help with mental health and research into it? Absolutely. But the main goal is to leave it to the states first. But if a state does not want to invest in mental health research, then we could be the part of the country that takes over, and that way it can help those with funding for mental health research. Because in this country, a lot of people are suffering from mental health, and I as one. When it comes to healthcare, I sincerely do believe that healthcare is a human right, and it's not a business. Well, yes, it's a business, but it's not a business. And what do I mean by it is, but it isn't a business? Those that are private hospitals and private clinics, they should still get funding, federal funding, only if they have a clean record of complaints, clean record of no malpractices, and if they basically are participating in pretty much charities and such. But hospitals and medical facilities in general, private and public, they're a business, but they're not a business. The private walk-in clinics, those, I could see, well, I have a view that for private ones, they should have a choice in accepting certain types of insurances. However, on the whole wide scale, healthcare should be free. We should all get a choice in the matter. I do strongly believe and advocate for the tax credits for the American Care Act, the ACA. That is for millions and millions of Americans here in this country. Not everybody can afford the healthcare bills. Health insurance providers, they should automatically be required by law to cover they should be able to cover by law any cancer-related treatment, even if it's just a screening, and not out of the pocket of the not out of the pocket of us, meaning the person. They should come out of the pockets of those of taxpayers, only for the simple reason because it's a basic right for us all to receive health care. Food stamps. We have actually clearly seen why it should not be run only by the federal government, by the central government. Food stamps as a whole should be both state-operated and federally operated. Because if the federal level can't help out, the state can. Example, if the federal government is going to be closing down food stamps, even for those that actually need it, the state government should step in and help with that funding. When it comes to that topic as well, food banks should automatically get state funding and some federal funding as well. If they are federal food banks, most certainly they should get public funding. But if it's state-run, county-run, whatever food banks, basically they should get state assistance. Especially assistance if the food bank serves areas that are in a different state, like border towns. Towns that are within 25 miles of the border of each state. Yeah, there's many ideals that I can actually see that I hold. But with the current state of politics, it's either my way or the highway. Just like with the current Republican Party that I was once a part of. Here in the state of Minnesota, we don't have a choice on registering to select for a party. We literally don't have that option to even register for a party. Pretty much in the state of Minnesota, we basically just register to vote and boom. We can instantly, if we want to, we could just vote Republican, we could vote Democrat, we could vote right up the middle and vote independent or third party. But in today's age, I once was a Republican, but I still hold Republican values. However, today's Republicans would see me as a Democrat. And looking back, there are more ideals of the Democratic Party that I do support. When it comes to the LGBTQ plus community, I genuinely don't care. I don't care if you want to identify as trans. I don't care if you want to identify as how you feel you should be. Just as long as you're not targeting the kids or promoting it to kids. It's kids. They can't legally do anything without parental authorization until they turn 18. And this is also coming from a religious perspective too, as I just don't care. I literally don't. It's America here. You can do what you want just as long as it causes nobody harm. Just as long as it doesn't cause anybody harm, including an unborn baby. I'm pro-life, but I'm also pro-choice at the same time. I'm pro-life, but the point that makes it pro-choice is where in cases of medical complications that threaten either life. I'm for abortion or pro-choice in the realms of rape or incest, stuff like that. Yes, babies are a gift from God. And we should have a choice whether or not, well, for women to actually, yeah. Yeah, sorry for that interruption. My girlfriend ended up coming into the room to tell me something and drop off some food and whatever. But as I was saying, little kids and babies, they are a gift from God, yes. However, if it's known that the baby ain't gonna live, or if the mother's life is threatened, or even both, abortion seems like the right way. However, if we're just gonna be fully on killing babies, I just don't support that. I legitimately don't. Because of what the Bible says, I go with. However, in terms of what the epistles said from Apostle Paul, it's more or less just speaking to the churches that were in the regions. But yeah, with the whole Democratic and Republican parties, pretty much they're going to call out anybody that goes against their ideals. And that ain't good, y'all. That's not right. But, yeah, so with the current state of politics, it's really, really overwhelming and quite depressing to say the least. Just having a couple Tic Tacs, but yeah. I honestly have no idea what else more to say. But that whole thing completely interrupted my whole thought process. So yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what in the world I even want to say. Or what I wanted to say. But it'll come to me probably after this stream is over. But I do thank y'all for watching, and you have a great day now. Peace.